Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beta Talks. It's been a while, and I have really missed you all. But today, we're back with a bang. I couldn't be more thrilled, actually, because this guest is someone I've been eagerly waiting for to interview for a very long time. So, Nora,
Hi.
welcome to my show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to finally be here.
Yeah, me too, me too. So you've had quite a fascinating journey, but before we start talking about your growth and your work, self-work, I want to know about your type and about your typing journey. How did you get into OP? When did you get typed? What is your type to begin with?
Okay, yeah. So my type is SETI, consume, sleep, play, blast, double masculine. I got typed in 2018, July, and I think, yeah. Sorry, what was the other question?
Yeah,
No.
so typology, is it a thing you've been into before OP? How do you even discover it? I mean, you are a consume first, so of
Yeah.
course you're
Uh,
consuming all the time, but I'm just curious to know how everyone, found out about typology and OP and so forth.
yeah, I was into the standard 16 types for a little bit before it just kind of came by through friends, things like that. And it was interesting. And I've really identified with the INFJ type, funnily enough. And then I started collecting them. No. But I really idea with the INFP, the INFJ, and this was kind of before I really understood type. And I guess I guess one of the most common things people say is that they feel different, and I felt different, and I was like, oh, I really want to understand myself, and I want people to understand me, and it was really funny typing myself upside down actually, and looking back on that, it's quite. But anyway, MBTI is very different, so you can be an I whatever you want to be in 16 types, and then you'll be actually maybe not similar, but not too different actually, because like the consume sleep, that mope energy, I guess that's why I identified as an introvert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I thought I was an EP, so
Yeah.
we just switched.
Blast. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, you're right. And I was thinking about when you came into OP, like at the time, I know you told me before that there was the video typing going on. So how was that to receive like the full video from Dave and Shan and have, going through everything and
I mean, it was amazing. It is amazing. I still watch it from time to time. And it's, I guess, really special because you see they kind of went through everything in detail, and they explained OP at the same time, so it really was like a class on yourself,
Mhm.
and you get their emotional reaction. I don't know, like I love the FE side of it as well. I don't know what I would do if they just sent me an email going, and this is your type. I'd be like, okay, is it really my type? Like when they actually explained it all, it was the sensory that I needed to feel like, yeah, can't argue with that. It was just so personal, and I really appreciate having gotten in so early to get that. Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
would be weird if they like if it was wrong and they, came back to me and were like, actually, you're not this type. I'd be like, oh, okay. I need another video though. So
That would
yeah.
be funny. Yeah. I guess
Yeah.
maybe for you as an EP, like with the OE, maybe that would be exciting or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so too. There were times where I considered it would be so cool if they typed me SF play. If I sent a video with my curly hair, I was like, look, this is actually me.
Yeah.
Maybe you typed me wrong because my hair was straight in the first video.
Hmm.
Obviously, that's not the case. But then after a time, I've spoken to people from the community. I've met people from the community, and there's just no way I'm savior play. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that in common actually. We are both
Yeah.
demon play. But so
Yeah.
we have been interacting quite a bit. We are friends and we've been knowing each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of like, so this is something I have noticed, like your play seems to be somehow stronger than mine. And I'm thinking that maybe that's the OE, like you have consume at the top,
Mm.
like that's helping you to do more of the play. How do you feel about the play? Have you thought about it, like why you're so good at it somehow?
Thank you, first of all. I guess the Savior SE really helps. I'm drawing on that consume to maybe pseudo play or something like that. It helps me get access to it. It being double masculine means I kind of do fall back on it. It kind of it feels like home turf in a way. Obviously, it's quite draining. I'd rather not be doing it all the time. I'd rather spend most of my time in my little box in my head kind of thing. But it's definitely where I feel like actually I kind of do know my stuff here. I know the SF spectrum very well, I think. And I think, yeah, having double masculine function, an animal, like the play being double masculine really helps. Wherever you are double masculine, I think it helps. You have the masculine TI, so I often feel like your sleep is so much more consistent and solid than mine. And like, you know, I definitely feel like my sleep is much more fluid, I guess. Like we've spoken about my sleep before, and it's like, I will change my mind about things. It takes me a while to really do something consistent, which is why, that the journey thing that we might talk about later is really significant, because it's the first time I've really stuck to something consistently. And I feel like my sleep had to be a bit more masculine, a bit more solid, not so fluid. Yeah,
Right.
fluidity isn't always a good thing.
It can be, but sometimes it works against us. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. So, yeah, I'm just thinking about different things right now. But the play thing is interesting because, yeah, I guess when you are consuming, you're asking a lot of questions, and that kind of opens up for the pinging. Like the back and forth will come naturally because of that. While with me, like I have this one-way blast, so there is no play in that, So I think I've actually learned a lot from the people who are consume saviors, from me personally as well, to just not be afraid to ask questions. Like my default wiring is just to guess the answer instead of asking. So
Yeah. And I would rather just Google it. And like at work, I'll have colleagues who I think are like, I had an INTJ colleague. I've told you about my friend Henna, and I'll just be in the office doing something, and then I'll be like, I'll look confused, and then she'll be like, do you need help? Like, what is that? She'll be ready to play, and I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll just Google. And she's like, what do you need? And I'm like, okay. And then I'll reluctantly ask her. But I've gotten a lot more used to asking people and just going, you know what? Instead of figuring it out myself, let me go and bother someone. I still see it as bothering someone. It doesn't feel like I'm actually doing anything good. I feel bad about it. I'm like, oh, do you mind if we do this tea together? Because TI is very much a solitary thing. Like, I want to figure it out myself. I want to do it my own way. And I want to mention that song by Frank Sinatra, My Way, because that's like been the anthem, and I think it's such a TI anthem. But yeah, but I guess for us, play isn't really TE, it's FE. So I guess you have access to that FE a little bit more than I do. So in a way, you're going to be doing play. I think you do it better in some ways, right? Because it's more so if it's serving the tribe, you're more likely to go and expend energy. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, our plays. I've been thinking about that. The intention of the play. Of course, there is an intention of everything for me, but there isn't. There shouldn't be for play at least. But yeah. Anyways, so for me as an IJ, the intention of the play will somehow be to find out things so we can. Maybe I can help you then after. Maybe I can blast some after we played. So I learned something about you, and then I can use my saviors. But for you, it feels like
it's a very selfish thing. It's pretty much like, I think it must be selfish. I don't know. I'm trying to get away from seeing myself as selfish just because I'm DI, but then at the same time, maybe it's good to see myself that way so I can be less selfish. But yeah, so when I do the play, I think, well, I'm asking for myself, but at the same time, not really, because actually interacting with people seems to benefit them too, because they'll be like, oh, it's nice to see you. Oh, it's nice that you're here more. And I'm like, yay.
Yeah, just your presence.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. I'm like, what if we all just stayed in our caves and no one interacted,
Yeah.
But actually, since being sorry, I think
no, go on. If we stayed in our caves, go on.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, so I think since like being a lot more sort of happy with myself and my journey and my blah blah blah, people have been like, because there's this rule in our school where you have to stand in the corridor when there's a class changeover to monitor and sort of stop any bad behavior, kind of thing. Okay, so because I go to a pretty tough school, I work at a tough school, but
Right, you are a teacher. Maybe we should squeeze
yeah,
that
sorry, we
in.
should have said that.
Just
Yeah,
a
no,
little
I'm
bit
not
of a
at
blast.
school.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're working at a top school with teenagers, right?
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So 11 to 18. And so we're supposed to stand in the corridor. And then I had some colleagues who were like, you're in the corridor too much. Like go back to your cave. Like go back to because basically it makes them look bad if they're not in the corridor too. But I've really been enjoying doing the play and the interaction a lot more these days. And I think it's simply because of the positive vibes that I'm feeling and like wanting to be like, hi, smile, kind of just be there. And it's such an effy thing to do. I think we getting that ping back is so nice. And yeah, so there's definitely been some NF changes within me. And I think you mentioned that to me before, not just like physical changes in terms of the health stuff.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah,
into
but
that soon. Yeah.
no. Continue talking about play, but it's related to play.
It is, yeah, and yeah, yeah, I have a highway here in my head right now. But yeah, because the thing you said about people being happy just because you're there, like just, play, the core of play is just being together. Like
Yeah.
for me and for you maybe as well, I don't know. I'm asking you, like having play as a demon, it feels like, why are we doing this? Maybe I'm talking from my OI. Like, what's the point of the play? That's my first question. Like, why are we here? What are we gonna play about? Like, super controlling.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I think for me, it's sometimes a little bit more like, I'm ready now. I'm ready to do it. And I'm not really expecting an outcome. I don't have a goal in mind. I don't have like a specific like why. It's more like, oh, okay, I'm going to see this as OE. Okay, what's going to
Right.
happen next? Oh, cool. We're going to go out for a drink. We're going to do this. It's like, yeah, like I'm more down to, I want the new. I expect OE play to just give me more consume. Like, what can I learn
Right.
about you? I'll ask people questions and sometimes I'll dive in deep and I'll be like, so how's it going with the pregnancy? And like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, how have you been feeling? Like, I'll definitely start doing that curiosity thing where I start asking people questions as opposed to like just, thinking, how's this person doing with this person? Like when it comes to relationships and like things like that of seeing other people and interactions, I'm kind of like closed up. I'm not really tracking the NF vibe. I'm just like, who's the most interesting person here that I can talk to and get stuff out of?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like beeline for that person. I'm like, hi, I'm your new friend.
Right. What can I
Yeah.
learn from you? Are you trying to find
Yeah.
like mentors? Because that's something I've been wondering with the consume people.
Yeah, I think so. I think I was thinking about that this week, actually. Thinking about even the environments I like to put myself in. I want to be around people who are doing things that I want to get better at. And over the past few years, I never noticed this in myself much before, although I have a few good friends from a very long time ago who are excellent people. But more so in the last few years, especially since finding objective personality, I have like been striving for mentors. Even if you're my friend, anyone listening out there who is my friend, you're a mentor to me. Like I've not just picked you out because I'm like, you're a nice person. It's because I see something in you that I'm like, I want more of that. I need to be more like that. Because when you hear everyone's had that saying about you are the average of the 5 people around you or something, your closest 5. I really do believe that's true. And I have improved, I think, because I'm around people who are different to me, have different strengths. As soon as I identify like someone who's too similar to me, I'm kind of like, don't know what we can teach each other here. Like you're a great person, but we probably don't talk much. If you're consume sleep play blast, love to you, but it has to be like a really special connection for it to kind of and I think still even then actually I tell a lie. If someone is on a different journey than me, right, I will still find things from, even if they're the same animal stack. So it's not all about type, but if I think I met someone recently who went through a very similar thing to what I went through, and I was really happy for them, but I was like, well, cool. I don't know what else to say.
Right.
You know, and maybe that's my fault, but yeah, I'll think of a better way to deal with such situations. But I generally tend to be drawn to people who have a different hero's journey, slightly different in the sensory.
That is so interesting. Yeah. I'm just learning, even though we've known each other for a while, I'm still learning. I'm consuming. So let me see if I can find one of those questions that I had for you.
Yeah.
I'm having some server problems with my, can't scroll. Yeah, because I want to get into that a little bit more. Like you are seeking out mentors, you are learning from other people, and I admire that in you and in people who have the consume animal as a savior and who does practice that, you know, in a good way. Like you're directing that consume towards something, towards your sleep, I suppose, right? So the question I have to begin with here now, to get a little bit more serious and to see how we use our knowledge, like the functions and the animals and what we know from the OP code, to actually change our lives, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
So can you share some examples, just to begin with, of how knowing your cognitive functions like has influenced your daily life in general?
Okay, so not too specific.
Yeah, just light
Just
start.
generally.
Yeah.
Light start. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess being aware that I'm going to be drawn to consume sleep in my job has pushed me to do a bit more of the play blast, say yes to things, trying to stay light, because I love going in
I mean,
super quick to
please
my.
go into. I mean, I love that. Deviate as much as you
Okay.
want. Yeah.
No, because I think the light stuff isn't really coming to mind. I mean, it's just going to be general. Yeah. So I tried to avoid the consume, or I've tried to, it didn't seem to be going anywhere though. Like knowing I was SC and going, oh, I probably shouldn't consume as much. Just thinking that you need to reduce your consume isn't going to help you.
Mm-mm.
It's more so that I really had to leverage that I am demon NI. I'm going to be inclined to believe in things like they're out to get me, control. And actually, it was interesting. Using that was so much more powerful than going, oh, I just need to do less consume, I'll be okay. But it's that's not powerful enough. I needed to really scare myself and leverage my way of thinking, which is that fear mindset around corporations and the fast food industry. And so as soon as I started to see those things as like, oh my God, like just mind blown, they've been controlling me my whole life, or like it's been influencing my health and my well-being, and just anything like that. Like I knew it wasn't exactly true because I'm not actually the biggest conspiracy theorist, but I had to, it wasn't a big jump for me to start believing that, you know. And it's not that I genuinely believe I'm being controlled, it's more so I have to sort of, instead of doing a little bit of the digging and finding a bit more sensory, and maybe I'm just believing in this NI story of like, I mean, life is just stories in the end. Whatever narrative you choose, it can really benefit you. And so believing you are the hero of your own life really benefits me. Believing fast food companies are out there to hook me in, believing it is as bad as like opioids and, you know, any other drug, is the thing that made me go, oh, fear. Oh, I'm not doing that again. I need to change as a person. I need to run away from these people who are trying to ruin my life. So I think that's how I use the EP sort of story to help me.
Well, that's really fascinating. So let's give some context to that, because that's actually very interesting how you can use like your default wiring to speed up your growth.
Yeah.
That's a twist. I haven't thought of that before. So tell me more, like how did you even start? Like give the context, like where were you in your life?
So for a few years, from like early 20s to late 20s, I was yo-yo dieting. I'm sure everyone knows what that is, right? It's like just sort of jumping on diets, gaining weight, losing weight, that kind of thing, and not even that much weight, just like a little bit, and actually gaining a significant amount. But having a sort of neutral, non-conspiracy theorist mindset and going, no one's out to get me. I just have to control myself. I just have to do less consume. I guess that kind of made me, what's it called? kept me in a loop of like, I'm not really thinking of the bigger picture. I'm just thinking small. I'm just thinking, oh, I just need to lose a little bit of weight. I just need to go to the gym. I just need to work out a bit more, without thinking of the why. And it's only when I started connecting the why, so even positive things, for example, like actually seeing the future, what future do I want? And something you've helped me with is like picture who you'll be in 5 years, 10 years, that kind of thing. And then, yes, again, as I said, using this sort of conspiracy theory, like, oh, maybe corporations are all out to get me. They're all trying to get us hooked on garbage and sugar and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I've watched these conspiracy theory videos before, but they never affected me. They never truly affected me. And it's only when I started taking it personally and I was like, this is me. I'm an addict. I had to start changing my identity. I had to start identifying as an addict, accepting it. I had to start walking down the high street and going, I can see what's happening here. I can see the mentality that I have. I'm like, oh, I'm drawn to this. I even started looking at like color, not color theory, but like things like, oh, this is probably red because it wants to draw you in. It's like an alert. You know, even like all our notifications are red. It's like, oh, they probably did that on purpose. I mean, someone suggested that I should do set my phone to like black and white so you can use it less. And I did do that, and I was like, whoa, it's actually really boring looking at this screen that's just black and white. But I didn't want to do it because I was like, oh no, I like the colors. But yeah, things like that. It's really about kind of buying into that demon NI thing. And you know, it wasn't just that helped, obviously. I think it's so many things stacking up. I think Shan has talked about, you know, and in the end, it all comes down to someone's DI. No matter where DI is in your wherever it is in the stack thing, you have to lock onto some identity thing to change. So it wasn't really just the NI stuff.
Yeah, right. So the first step is to ask the why, but then there is more to it as well. But that's interesting. So you're connecting your actual like last animal, last function to the whole process, like to get where you want to go. Of course, it's goal oriented, the NI, but I mean, it's always goal oriented to go somewhere, whether it's, you know, SE at the top or NI at the top or whatever function. So getting to that last animal and function, and it's on board, and now we have a reason, now we have a why, now we have a goal, and now we can move towards,
and now we have a
goal.
Story as well. It's that story thing. It's like, what NF do I want to blast for the rest of my life? What story do I want to tell people? And no, it's not just going to be hey guys, stay away from sugar. In fact, it turned into, hey guys, if I can inspire, okay, this is how I started. I remember last year, it was, I think, the beginning of the journey, so like August, I wrote this like big plan. I was like, okay, I got a board pen, I did the board thing, the IJ like teacher thing, you know, whatever. And I started from the very biggest goal that I had, which is, well, I guess I want to change people's lives. Like, oh, but that's so embarrassing. I can't do that. I'm nowhere near that. But anyway, you have to work backwards from your biggest goal, I think. And I was like, well, if I want to get there, what would be the step before that, till I get to the point where I'm at now, where I have nothing, where I'm at rock bottom, where I'm suicidal, where I'm depressed. And there's still a link between those two things. And so that was like my map, my roadmap kind of thing. Okay, so I'm here. I humbled myself using that map, I think, among other ways of humbling myself. And just being at rock bottom is so humbling, to the point where you're like, I'm finally ready to do the 1%. Because I think people don't realize how much ego plays into it. And when you're like, I'll just change when I'm ready, I'll be able to do all the things. Like, you can speak to anyone, whether it's a sleep schedule, a thing, or blah, 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 blah. They'll be like, I don't want to change it one day a week. When I'm ready, I'll change it overnight. And I was that person for so long. And I tried that so many times. Yeah, I'll do this thing when I'm ready, or I'll do it and then I fail. Because there's something about doing the 1% that's almost embarrassing.
Yeah, because you can't really, you don't have much to show for it. Like, you are working, but no one sees it. You cannot prove that you're doing it.
Yes, and that was one of the biggest things. I had to basically journal throughout the past 10 months. And it was so often I would come back to, and today this person said this thing, which made me feel exactly how I felt 3 months ago. Nothing's changed to them. And I had to remind myself through writing, but this and this and this and this and this has changed. So much of it is internal, and so much of it was feminine sleep kind of going, oh, you know, it takes so much to remind myself, no, I got this. No, I am doing this. I am changing. Because yeah, I really needed the SF like approval, like these sort of physical, sensory people feeding back. And when I didn't get that, I had to tell myself that. I had to be like, oh, no. Here are the changes. And yeah, it takes it's very hard for me to sort of see the future if no one is telling me, supporting me in that. And so it was a very solitary journey. But I think most heroes' journeys are. So.
Oh yeah. Wow, it's really mind-blowing story. I think I've been seeing, following along just for the audience, and I can see this huge change that you have been making, like in every aspect of, like every part of your function stack. So it's so beautiful. But so when it comes to like more like in a practical way to execute our goals. So when we think of like we know our functions, we know our animals, how does that influence our decision making processes? Do you have any examples of that? Like if we break it down to smaller pieces, like yeah, feel free to say anything.
I guess when I want to do the selfish thing, I have to try to think of, well, what would the tribe value? Just go ahead with that. It's always it's nice to know your type, because you're not really allowed to do the default wiring thing. You are allowed, but as in, if you want to improve, you have to stop yourself and go, am I about to punch because I'm masculine DE? I mean, to an extent, it can actually be a negative, toxic thing. Because then I start associating masculine DE with so many things, and I'm like, oh, I'm not allowed to punch or shame this person or defend myself because I'm just doing the masculine FE thing. So in terms of, I think it just gives you pause for thought. It gives you a slight delay if you catch it and go, oh, maybe I want to stay in bed all day because I'm a mope, maybe I want to not get out of my seat while I'm teaching because I'm a mope. I need to start moving. I need to start doing stuff. So it's just constant awareness of like, I'm doing this because it's a bias thing. I keep looking for the consume, sleep, play, blast,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting lost a little bit in all of the thoughts and your story.
Yeah, I know you asked for specific things, but it's kind of for me, I'm like lumping it together like, oh, I'm just stopping myself and thinking, and it can be good and it can be bad sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like, would you say you've ever experienced like a very significant moment or experience that sparked like, this kind of a journey, like making a very profound change, like in the approach. Like for you, it's been about health, becoming healthier, taking care of that side of life. Sometimes there are like these moments that kind of make us go in the right direction. Can you recall any moments like that, or maybe it's several, or is it more like something that came gradually, like, and you finally made a decision after a long
time? So of course, stacking all the negative experience helps. Reaching rock bottom really helps. But I think also seeing myself from the outside by consuming. I was actually watching a TV show called Dope Sick, and it was about the opioid crisis in America. And so they were they were like that. And it was seeing addicts on screen and identifying with them. And it really broke me, really made me cry so much. I was like, I'm going through that, but with food. And I didn't realize that it was that bad until I saw it on screen from someone else's story, another perspective, another addiction. It was just that moment that made me go, well, I really need to identify as an addict. And I kind of had before, but it's not the same impact as really seeing it from the outside, almost like an out-body experience, and going, oh my God. I also had to record myself a few times. So after a binge, I would like, or just before a binge, I remember this one particular video. I think I was talking to myself for 20 minutes or something. I would cry, I would talk, I would explain how I felt. And watching it back a few months ago, I was like, I don't recognize this person who is that broken and that addicted to food. So I think it's just a few moments of, you have to see yourself from the outside. As long as you keep living inside and keep feeling your feelings and keep like just responding to life, you're not going to respond to yourself as if you're caring for another individual. I had to see it as like, I am in dire need of help. I have to help myself. And that moment of seeing myself as an addict, how would I treat someone who is an addict? I wouldn't tell them, change your life overnight, quit everything. Of course, so it's slightly different because addicts have this whole, they have to like go sober. But when I was working in a pharmacy a few years ago, because I did pharmacy for a bit, there was this thing that they would give them instead, kind of like to taper them off. I was like, oh, maybe I need to taper off pizza. Okay, let me do a month of no takeaway. Like, no, you know how like pizza places do takeaway, right? I was like, okay, maybe these pizza places are my step one. I just need to cut out these pizza, but I'm still gonna have pizza. I'm gonna taper off. I'm gonna get the less interesting one. You know, the one that you just put in the oven from the supermarket. I'm gonna have that one. And I was like,
so smart.
That was my step one. I was like, okay, this is embarrassing, but I'm gonna do it. So I did that for a month. That was my first month of like, I didn't really lose much weight. I was just trying to build faith in myself. That's the biggest thing as well. Because when you're an addict and when you're rock bottom and you keep failing, you don't only just hate yourself, but you also don't trust yourself. There's no trust. You have to rebuild that trust in yourself to start changing. So I managed to do that for a month. Everything I would eat would come from supermarkets, but it was everything I wanted at the time. And as soon as that month passed and I could tell myself, oh my God, I did a thing, that little bit of trust springboarded like more, I can do more. I can do it. That feeling of I can do it hadn't been a part of me for a long time. And even if I yo-yo dieted and lost some weight, I still never felt that I can do it bit, because I always knew I was a fake. I always felt like a phony, because there was almost like getting to your goal so quickly makes you feel a little bit like, I'm still the same person. I still can't wait for that pizza. But actually going, I don't want that pizza ever again. That was a more permanent change. That was me going, I never want this again. I'm saying goodbye to this one little thing, but forever.
Wow, that's an interesting technique. Like, did you come up with it on your own, or did you learn about it from someone else?
No, I came up with it myself.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it came from somewhere else, because I hate the idea of blasting, and I'm like, no. I probably consumed it. I will cite my references, you know. But no, I'm take ownership. I made this up.
Yeah, you are a genius. Just own it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And talking about food addiction, I'm just curious, are there any misconceptions or common misunderstandings about food addiction that you would like to address, like in this context?
I mean, you know, I honestly don't know if food addiction is a genuinely like real thing, but I just want to address something. So I'm not referencing it from a scientific standpoint or that it's real. It was just a term that made me think, okay, this is my story. I had to believe in something that was serious. It's almost like when you go to the doctor and you go, oh, you know, I'm kind of having a bit of tummy pain, but it might be this. And then the doctor's like, okay, just take this thing. But if you go to the doctor and you're like, I'm dying and this pain has been nonstop for days and you need to take me seriously, like, you need to exaggerate for them to take you seriously, at least in this country. No offense to the NHS. But like, I had to exaggerate. Yeah, same for you. I had to exaggerate my story to myself. So I don't actually know if I was actually a food addict, but I mean, I had all the symptoms of normal addiction. The jitteriness if I couldn't get that thing, the emotions, the inability to control those things, which led me to the whole Stoicism stuff that I think I've mentioned to you before.
Yeah, tell us like here on the interview about the Stoicism. How does that relate to what you're saying?
Yeah. So a video I watched about the Shawshank Redemption, it was a video analysis of that film, and it was from the sort of Stoic standpoint. And I remember writing down a few quotes from that, and it again, another thing that broke me and made me cry. I think back then I was just broken and kept breaking, and it was like
Yeah.
all these pieces that you couldn't really put together.
Mm.
So the Stoicism thing just hit me because like I have actually two quotes. One, something like, everything harmonizes with me, which is harmonious to thee, O universe. Nothing for me is too early or too late, which is in due time for thee. Everything is fruit to me, which thy seasons bring, O nature. From thee are all things, in thee are all things, to thee all things return. So it's this, it just gave me a sense of peace. I think it gave me a sense of, I may be broken and rock bottom right now, but that's where I'm supposed to be right now, and that things will get better. It gave me a bit of hope. So the Stoic philosophies and things like that just made me feel hopeful. And the Shawshank Redemption, I don't want to spoil it, but like this idea of being in this prison, because the food addiction felt like a prison, and still being able to live and still being able to pick myself up and go day after day. And even when I started the journey, I really still related to being in a prison, because I was still prisoned in this body that didn't feel right to me. And so I had to continue finding ways to be okay, and just okay enough to get through another day, because at that point it felt like each day was 1,000 years. I really needed the thing, and I couldn't get the thing, and I was just fighting. And the other quote, and that's the second and final one, it's a 10-minute video. I'm not going to talk about the whole thing. I'll link it in the comments or something. It's better to direct your actions towards a goal with an uncertain outcome than to experience the fear that arises from a life without purpose. And that as well really hit me, because I was like, I can't attach to this goal of this much weight loss, although this is like would be an amazing thing. Throughout the journey, I started to be less and less like, I guess, goal oriented. Like I had a goal, but I was also like, if I want this to be a lifelong thing, I need to be living with purpose. I need this journey is the thing. I'm already there. There's almost like a sense of, I've started this journey. As soon as my foot touches the ground on this path, I'm already done. I'm finished. Like I am already on that path. I'm not deviating. Yes, it's going to take time, but I have time. All we have is time. Choose your path and stick to it, and you will get there. And it's a feeling of, every action I take, every breath I take now is towards this goal or this outcome. But I'm also not focusing on the outcome. It's more so that I know I'm on the right path. I don't know. It's a weird, I mean, I know I've still been processing that kind of thing, but now more than ever, I think the last few months, I knew the goal would be hit. I knew goals would be surpassed. I knew I would become even better than I could ever imagine. And it's continuing to improve. And it's a case of, I don't need a goal. I just need the journey. I need to continue having purpose. And this is the best thing I think that's ever happened to me in my life. It's just having, just feel like I'm walking and through this path, and every step is a gift. And that's why I keep walking. It's not because I'm racing to get somewhere. Because by the way, you get somewhere, you get to that place, it's not going to be as great as you expected. And you're going to be like, oh, is this it?
It's not what you imagine, but it's something else, something different, something better.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've really discovered your like inferior functions. You're really sticking to the path now. Like this is a true hero's journey. Like I'm doing my NI. I'm sticking. I'm staying there. This is the journey, and I don't care about everything along the way. Isn't the main thing is that I'm here. I think that's so interesting, because when I think about it from my perspective, I have the opposite journey to what you've been doing. Like I need to deviate from my path. I need to go here and there and, in many directions instead of just picking the first path that I ever thought of, and then staying on it forever.
Because you could stay on that, couldn't you? Like it's quite
Yeah.
easy to.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's easy, but it's not always fulfilling, because when you don't integrate VOE, when you don't do like the variety of things and really check, like, is this the path I should be on? You just kind of pick one and you go with it instead of actually exploring and then doing the DI thing of deciding, like, okay, sure, this is the one I want to be on. Then it's not as meaningful or, fulfilling. So I have to do it from the opposite angle. So it's very fascinating to hear your story and hear like what you have explored and what you have discovered. And I can see that peace and that happiness, like it's radiating from your face, it's from your whole being, like the NF it shows. So
Thank you.
yeah, you're doing many things right. And yeah, I admire that, and I hope that I can do the same thing, but in the opposite direction, which sounds weird, but that's how it works. Yeah, just since we were talking about, because I'm going back a little bit to the topic of food and addictions in general, and whether it is an addiction or not. I mean, there can be so many different variants. But when it comes to that, the things you have experience of, what would you like people to understand better about these topics? Do you have like a message, some blast on the way now for other people about this?
Well, whatever you're struggling with, I think the first step is always to accept that thing, like accept that that's where you're at, and accept how you've broken the relationship with yourself by treating yourself that way, that negatively, or whatever it is that you've been doing that's been bad for you and for others. Because how you treat yourself ends up reflecting on how you treat others anyway. And then I would say, after reflection and acceptance, it is to start identifying literally the small things you can do, but obviously not leaving it at that, not going, oh, I'm pat on the back, I'm amazing, I'm going to stop here, but actually having a roadmap and a journey that sometimes isn't quite filled in at the end. Because actually, as you change, you start to understand more and more about your capability and your potential and what you can and can't do. For example, I never imagined I would ever go to the gym. I completely was against that. It was against my identity, actually. I was like, I'll never become a gym person. But I'll talk about that later if you want. So then, yeah, so make some sort of map as far as the eye can see for you, metaphorical eye. And begin that. Ensure it's the tiniest of steps. Ensure it's something. Every time you complete a step or you have these deadlines and stuff like that, have objective goals. Like Shan and Dave talk about objectivity. Yeah, I agree. It's super important. It's going to make you feel better about yourself. Yeah, and I guess have people that you can talk to if you can.
Yeah.
Read about your journey from another person's perspective on the internet. Have some sort of hope that you'll get through. Oh, and don't forget motivational quotes. That sounds crazy or like weird to some people, or maybe it sounds normal, but to me it was weird. I was like, ew, it's so cringe. But I downloaded this app called the Motivation app, and I set it to giving me maybe a reminder every half an hour, and that's quite a lot. Yeah, I was like, I need NF blast every half hour, please. Wow. And it really worked. I was like, now I have the notifications off and I just have it as a widget on my phone so I can read it whenever, and it changes. But at the beginning, oh my gosh, I was alone. I didn't see many people. I didn't have work. It was a holiday at the time. I basically try to put myself in like a bat cave, almost like in The Dark Knight, one of the Batman films where he goes into the cave. It was that level of like nothing, just me, just my crap, just my addiction, it was the worst time. And I would also advise writing. Writing really helps. It still helps. But at the beginning, it was every day. It was day one. This is how I feel. Day two. This, like, really be in touch with your feelings. Get to know your feelings, because that's super important, especially if you're like me, demon NF, because then you can start to track yourself, you can track your patterns, and also you can actually identify things before they happen. So like, kind of like, oh, I'm feeling like this, so I'm probably gonna respond this way, you know. I don't know. So it's self-awareness, reflect on emotions, have a roadmap, have motivational quotes, watch motivational videos, start small, have little things. And the very beginning is accept yourself, accept where you're at, be honest. I think things that Shay have said all along, but yeah, it took me a while to get that.
No, but yeah, and it's also fascinating how somehow you have just been doing this on your own. Like, it's your journey. It's like a very, very personal, I mean, personal growth, word, right? But still, like, as you said, it's lonely. And a hero's journey for anyone would be lonely, because you're discovering things and it's painful and you have to work through things, and maybe there is no one to help because you have to do it on your own. But I'm also very, yeah, impressed, because do you think you're like your consume sleep, you are a mode, like by default? Do you think that is helping you to be okay with doing it alone? Or, I mean, it's sure it must be a struggle to anyone, but do you think somehow that you are comfortable in doing something on your own, like carving your own path and just, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's a dumb question. I don't know.
No, it's not.
Right.
I think that, so I've been a mope, I guess, since day one, but I don't think it was always helpful. I think at the time, for many years, it was me against the world. It was a masculine DE blaming, kind of like, I don't need to change, the world needs to change, SF standards need to change. It was that story for a long time. So actually being consumed sleep, being in my own like echo chamber of like, you know, I think I just want to consume, relax. I don't need to be like those gym people. Like, I hate them. Genuinely thought they were dumb and stupid and wrong. And I think it can be really, really, really bad, because just being in a little cycle of your saviors can be bad. But yeah, I guess in some ways I can turn it around and say, actually, being a mope was great, because I don't have that, because I am demon tribe. Sticking to my own path, being my own, was possible. And maybe for someone who isn't, maybe someone who's like demon consumed sleep, it would be terrifying, even more terrifying. So maybe they would have to go to sort of like a group therapy thing.
Right.
And those things are also part of the journey. You know, other people choose different routes to healing. And I don't think it's always doesn't have to be a bat cave kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
Maybe.
Because in a sense, I do relate to the Batcave, the concept of the Batcave, but I think also because I'm saver sleep, so it's not a very foreign thought. However, if I'm isolating for too long in that cave, that brings on additional problems. Like, I kind of lose the movement, because the blast and the play is what is driving me, like the blast especially. So it's like I lose my engine in a sense if I don't interact with the outside world on topics, Yeah, I don't know if you can relate in some way or not, but I think that's maybe what's, in a sense, it's not scary with a bed cave, but I'm just wondering how that would work for me, for example, being more extroverted than you are.
I think, yeah, I think so. No matter what your OP type is, it's not. So I understand knowing type can help, but I also think it's important to just know, what are you doing in reality that's blast, and what version of that is the most positive version. It for me, consume, it wasn't so much as going, I need to consume less because that's my OP type. It was specifically focused on, I need to cut out processed foods and might stop my food addiction. You have to bring it down to reality. Okay, sorry, that's a super ST thing to say. But whatever it is that you're doing too much of, it's not just, hey, Alexa, stop blasting. It's not that at all. It's, hey, Alexa, what part of your blast is preventing you from the growth that you want to do?
Yeah.
And you have to identify that in the ST a little bit so that you can go, okay, I will stop that thing. Or, okay, this is the thing that's the most detrimental to my life and health and being, whatever, I don't know. So yeah, I think it's more so that, because you still will do your saviors. I still consumed, of course I consume, I just didn't consume the bad stuff. I just had to start consuming good things. I still enjoyed, well, I mean, to be honest, I don't really I'd stopped watching TV stuff. You know, it's really weird because it's almost like all those bad consumes were connected.
Yeah, together, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you indulge in one, you will kind of add everything else on at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it did seem like cutting out the biggest consume problem slowly reduced all the others to the point where I just didn't see a point for them. It's like I didn't go to the cinema for a very long time, whereas before I had a cinema membership. Same with TV shows. So I don't know, but it feels like the less I consume bad stuff, the more I'm like, I'll start reading articles. I read a lot more like articles about growth and stuff like that, and just generally things like about neuroscience and psychology and like cool facts and whatever. But I'm not like, you know, oh, when's the next movie coming out? Oh, did you know this movie's, I'm like, oh, there's a Disney show coming out. Yeah, I guess a year ago I would have been excited. I'm not excited about it. Why do I want to watch some fake bullshit? What's happening? Sorry.
Yeah,
you know.
I love what you're saying. I mean, it's aligned with my saviors.
Exactly, right? Yeah, we're basically both INFJs. But no, so I think, yeah, it's just more about it seems scary, and it might be like, oh, well, how do I do the Batcave thing if I'm blast? Just don't worry about that. Just focus on what's the bad thing that you want to stop doing. And if you can't see the bad thing that you are doing, it means that you haven't done the acceptance bit.
Right,
You're like,
yeah.
I'm fine. It's like,
yeah, and what you were talking about before, like maybe not thinking that it's a real issue, like you think you can work through it very fast.
Yeah.
But you just fall back down all the time. So acceptance is like the first step. It's very foundational for the whole process.
Yeah, and I think it's really unfair to you and you guys who are IJs, because the world generally rewards play blast or blast saviors or tribe stuff or OI, because hey, you saving money, good job. You have friends, amazing. You have a job, good job. Okay, that sounds weird. But for me, the great thing about having an OE addiction is that life is going to tell you you're wrong very early on. You're going to be unhealthy. You're going to be in debt. You're going to have no friends. It's just like, actually, it's probably harder for people who don't have my saviors to figure out where they're going wrong. Of course, if it's demon sleep and you're a workaholic, your boss is going to say, hey, congratulations, you got a promotion. And you're going to go, oh, great. Yeah, I've got parties, I've got girlfriends, I've got this, and so, you know, I don't blame you guys if you know, struggle to find that thing that you need to accept and go, okay, I am doing this and I shouldn't be doing, because why on earth would you stop and think helping people is wrong? What's wrong with NF Blast? To me, it's the coolest thing ever. Like it's always going to be, when it's an excess, it's not good, but it's super hard to isolate that thing and go, it's not good, because most people are going to say, no, don't stop that thing, we love that about you. And it's like, oh yeah, yours is the upside down.
Yeah, right. You have to really, like in my case, I really have to like search, like soul search deep down and see like, but what am I not satisfied with? Because even if it works, you know, on a superficial level, and it looks good, and it is good to some extent, of course. But still, am I really aligned with my DI? That's more the question for me, and what's out there for me. So yeah, it's a totally opposite journey. It's so encouraging to hear.
Yours is going to be.
Mine is going to be.
Oh, sorry. I think there was my internet is not doing well today. Sorry, guys. I think yours is going to feel like you're doing something wrong, maybe because you're being selfish.
Yeah,
Oh, did you
yeah,
guys get that? No.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
That's a
Yeah.
problem. And I think I'm surrounding, like these days, or for a very long time, I'm surrounding myself with people who are like you, like DI saviors, and also maybe OE as well, like preferably. I guess maybe that's part of the attraction with, friends or other relationships, like just learning about the things that you don't see naturally, you don't understand naturally. Um, I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, it's the part where you feel selfish, that is a struggle. And I guess, and I'm sure it's the same for you too, like when we are doing our demons, we feel like we're doing something wrong initially, at least before you get the reward for it. Like you feel that this is something I shouldn't do, or this is too hard.
Yeah, or I'm doing it so badly, I need to just stop doing it.
Yeah, exactly. You
Like
get ashamed.
it's shame. It's like it's probably better I go and like stop bothering people because the play
Yeah.
I'm doing is awkward and weird and no one wants it. Or
Right.
I'm punching too hard and it's weird.
Yeah. Like if I would try to look cool or,
Yeah.
something like
SF
that,
cool, yeah.
feel totally out of my element.
Yeah, same.
It's so interesting. Okay. So, like, we have been talking about quite a few things.
Mhm.
What are the things you would like to talk more about? Because I have a bunch of questions, but I just want to concentrate on the things that you are really thinking about, like right now, like defining success in life, for example, um, anything like something you already talked about. What do you want to continue on? I have questions, but I just want to check in with you first.
Well, no, thank you for checking in. That's awesome. I'm just looking at my notes as well. Nothing super. No. I think I've like basically covered a lot of the things that I would have wanted to talk about. I think it's super important for people to enjoy life like every day. Like that is something that I think that if you're always constantly focusing on like the next thing until you're going to be happy, it just won't happen. Like you can have things that you'd love to achieve in life, but there's that scene at the end of the Shawshank Redemption where he's like painting the boat or the ship or the boat thing that he has. And I think to myself, everything is the cherry on top. The fact that I got to smile at a stranger today, that's the cherry on top. You have to reduce your happiness to the very basics, I think, to see life as so much more than it is. Because if your life is only great when you like have the best bag or the coolest you help someone so much and you're like, today I really helped them, I really did so much work today, I did really good. It's like, no, lower your expectations, or not lower your expectations, but be grateful for so much less, and then everything else is the cherry on top. So like whenever I feel stressed and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'm gonna, well, if I get that thing, that's the cherry on top, but my life is great anyway. And continuing to feel like I can find purpose and meaning just here, just in this heartbeat itself. Wow, I'm alive. That's amazing. That's cool. I get to see color and, I don't know. So it's like bringing it down to the basics, I think.
Again, like touching ground, being on the path, on the journey, like that's the main thing, not necessarily what's over there, like far away.
Yeah. I do have like a lot of reflections I've taken over the last few months. So you can ask me a question and I will just briefly glance at that if you would like, or you can glance at your questions.
Sure. Yeah. So looking beyond personal growth, what are some of your aspirations or goals for the future? I mean, personal growth will always be there as a part of it.
Yeah.
But how do you envision your continued exploration of, how your type and how you as a person play a role in these goals, who you are now? This is very NF.
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said.
No, me neither.
Just kidding. No. Like, just like, do you want sensory or do you want
Yeah,
like
please, anything like
anything?
sensory or
Okay.
whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for me, the most important thing I'm realizing is the personal connections, and people are really important to me now. So I think the next sort of chapter of my life is cultivating really good connections. And now that I've calmed down on the observer stuff, I feel like that was the biggest sort of aim. It was like, I want to figure out this thing. I remember when I did my typing video for Shan and Dave, I was like, what is the biggest issue in your life that you want to figure out right now? And at that time, it was still health. But that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, right.
So embarrassing. Anyway,
No,
but
it's not. I mean, look at how far you have come. Like, it's not embarrassing at all.
yeah,
It's
but I feel like
opposite.
that change only happened in 10 months. But you're right. I guess it has been happening in the like deep down for 5 years. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
like
think
just
yeah,
everything leading up to that point where you got started,
yeah,
that
yeah,
counts as well. That's also part of the journey. I think people forget that sometimes, but it is a part of the journey.
yeah. That's yeah. I like to think about it that way. Thank you for reminding me of that. So yeah, I think the next part is working on the other demon, which is FE. I feel like the NI kind of makes sense. I think there are definitely ways that NI is still an issue, 100%. But the FE and actually integrating TI and FE and doing a little bit more of the TE. Like the other day, I like stayed a little bit longer to help my boss, and I was very conscious that I was doing that. And she was very conscious too. I think she's an ESTJ, and she was like, "Thank you for staying behind." And I was like, she would probably never thank anyone, but it's probably because she knows that I don't really stay behind to help out, because I'm just like, all right, see you guys, bye. I'm like,
Yeah.
day finished, ESTP time, like let's go.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think I'm also sort of growing within my roles as a teacher, and so I do need to do more of that TE, and being aware that I need to do a lot more work time and a lot more like, how can I help you? That this is really embarrassing, but that kind of question doesn't really come to mind much. I'm happy to help people like with the vibe, like, oh, how are you doing? Maybe, but the TE stuff, like, how can we work on this together? Stresses me out. Like, she'll have like a document open and she's like, oh, I'm working on this. Let me share it with you. And I'm like, okay. And we're both working on the same thing. And I'm like, I have to keep doing the play and going, what about this thing? What about that thing? And she loves doing that. And I'm like, and by the way, if she ever sees this, like, love to you. You're amazing. You're the best boss I've ever had. Because you
It's
never know. It's the internet, you know.
yeah. And it's just
And
functions. She's probably doing her saviors, and you are there like
yeah,
really struggling and trying to
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah. And I'm
the
like, oh,
thing.
I'm TI. Can you give me like a specific thing I have to go? And I'll go do it when I'm ready, or like
Mm.
in my own time in my classroom. But it's that feeling of, I really do want to become a lot more collaborative. I want to be there. I want to be seen. I want to be known. And like, over the past few months, like more and more people at work that I don't really interact with have been like saying, oh, I heard, this thing about your classes, and that's really good. And like, hopefully next year we can, and I'm sort of preparing for that mentally. So we're going to go on summer break soon. And yeah, so specifically this next year, I think is going to be more about becoming a better worker.
Mm.
TE. Yes. Give me TE tips in the comments.
Okay, so really incorporating yourself as a part of that team, like not just being your
Yeah.
thing, but yeah, the
Yeah.
team thing. Wow, that's cool.
Wish me luck. I need it.
Yeah, good luck. I'm sure you're gonna pull that off as well. I have faith in you. But yeah, because this beta talks is kind of the compare and contrast thing. Like, when I look at my notes, mental notes, about what you're talking, like you're trying to be there more for the tribe, help out, like be more flexible with your own time and share it more willingly, if I understood you correctly.
Yeah, that's a really great summary. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I need to do this other thing that you said, like, bye guys, I have my ESTP time now. Like,
Yeah,
that's what I
DI
need.
time.
Yeah, I need to work on that. Like, the day's over, I'm gone. Because for me, the day is never over. I'm never gone. Like, I'm always the last person to leave any place I go to. Yeah, it's just how it works, Just being there until you are done, and you aren't really done until everyone is gone because you are a DE. It's crazy. So I just need to go anyways, you know, even if I don't feel like I'm done. I don't feel like I've finished everything I needed to do, or everyone I needed to, you know, tend to, or whatever. So yeah, it's the exact opposite. Just it's so funny, I think, with you, like seeing that so
Yeah.
clearly. You're basically giving me advice when you're telling me what you're trying not to do. That's what I should do, you know.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I feel like that's been our friendship, which I love. You know, it's
Mhm.
just such a natural, I do this, so you should do that, and I shouldn't do that. It's just
Yeah.
a cycle. Yeah.
Can do each other saviors for each other. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it's crazy. So that sounds like an awesome journey and very exciting. Maybe something we could talk on next beta talks, like if you want to come back on the second round. This is
Yeah.
kind of almost the second round now, even though you're here for the first time, because it feels like I had a break for a while and now I'm
Yeah.
starting over again. And I feel like I have a little bit, a slightly different direction now to my interviews. Like with you, you have been basically blasting about your lessons, like your, yeah, your, what you have learned, your wins and discoveries. And that's what I want to hear. Like, I want to see how people have actually been growing and how they have been, how do you say, I'm looking for a word, an S word. Anyways, skip the sensory. But anyway, how you are doing what you are learning, not just talking about the system and the parts, but actually implementing it to your life. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a great start to have you here for the first interview in that style, that different style. Um, are there anything like, so going back to the code anyways, are there anything that you have kind of understood more clearly as you have been going through this journey about yourself or the code or even the social type? Maybe you have an idea about that as well. Any insights,
Um,
like or thoughts, recent thoughts on the system?
on the system.
Hmm.
I don't really think about the system anymore. Like, love to shave, but like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
about, yeah,
No,
I
when it
guess.
comes to you, I mean, like
When it
for
comes to
you
me,
personally, yeah.
um, not really. It's been useful, but I guess all of my stuff is now coming from just okay. I guess the whole triangulation thing is such a great thing that they came up with it. Not came
Oh wow, I think.
up with, but the thing that they like talk about, like
Wait a
triangulate.
minute. I think you froze. Yeah, triangulate. Yeah, go on.
Triangulate, sorry, yeah. So just to sum up, basically triangulation is obviously when you like get feedback from people. And that's the one thing that I think that's, I don't know if this answers your question, but I was just something that's related to the system is
It does.
triangulate in your life, make sure
Mhm.
you're asking people for feedback. It doesn't matter. Feedback has become not my favorite thing because obviously criticism can be awful, but it just
Mm.
in general, it's really great to just go, okay, cool, tell me how I can improve this thing, or like, what is it, you know, how do you feel about our friendship at this point, or something like that. And yeah, it's a tough thing. I'm probably peacocking a little bit, but triangulation is it's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's such a good point, such a good thing to pick up from this whole OP journey and what we have learned from him. Like, I think even what you said that you haven't reflected that much about the system on the system, I think that's really great because then it has done its job, you know. It's in place, and now with your life, move on, move forward. So
Yes, yeah. I think it's a great I don't think you necessarily need it. I think it's a great springboard. I think
mm,
it's the things that they've said aside from things about type that have really helped me, which is things about the hero's journey, things about having mentors, accepting where you are, small steps. So stuff that I could have found from multiple self-help books, I feel like they concentrated that into every class. And whenever they mention things like that, it slowly gets into the system. And then just beyond that as well, other things like, you know, movies and Shawshank Redemption, Dope Sick, things like that, connecting things with my journey. Yeah. But just, yeah, I think when you get your type, don't allow it to sort of wash over you kind of thing. See if it feels, not feels right, but like see where it's obvious, I guess. Look to your biggest problems and start there. Don't obviously not just your biggest problems like, oh, whether it's sleep, but also just focus on the basics. Like, are you safe? Do you have a roof over your head? What do you need to work on? Do you need to work on like getting more money? Like, just make sure you're surviving and like thriving before you focus too much on personality type and social type. So
yeah, great advice. Thank you.
Just common sense. I don't know.
Yeah, but very nice class. Yeah, just scrolling to see if I have missed anything here. I think you have summarized your journey very nicely, and I think we got some interesting insights too. Like, I really love the part where you said that you changed the food, for example, even if it's an SE example, but like buying it from the supermarket, still doing the pizza in the oven. Like, that's such a good advice. Like, I can't stop thinking of that one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it when you pick out like my little sensory things, because I'm like, oh, he's just throwing that out there, and you're like, that thing was really cool, and it's like, oh, cool. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like I'm drawn to that in you as well. And you're like, oh, I just spit out some NF blasts. I'm like, it changed my life. Like, I really needed that today, or thank you for reminding me of this thing. And you know, it's
yeah, it's so useful. And I think like even such a small little ST thing can become like a big NI thing. Like, you can implement that little piece in so many areas. Like, I'm just starting to think about it now. Like, this is
in a few weeks you'll come back and be like, here's an NI plan for how we can approach this to this and this and this. I'm like, wow, amazing.
Right, like it feels like you touched on something like very important there, and that is key to change, I would say.
Yeah.
That just illustrated it. Yeah. But all of what you have said is about change. But that is kind of a point that I will process a little bit further to see how I can use that key to make changes myself, and maybe, blast here on my channel as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone picks out different parts of the interview, like what fits them and what moves them and so forth. So just to see.
I literally have like a memo document thing called blasts, and I have another one called reflection. So I will definitely, like, for our second or like for future interviews, I will make sure I distill those things and be like, oh, if you want to ask me about a blast I have for people, here are my blasts. So I feel like I've covered quite a few big ones in this through the questions, but I think there are more. There's definitely more, and I feel like it's important to share how your journey affected you, and then what you come up with from that. I think for everyone, write down the little things you learn about yourself and share it with people. Also, this other thing of like, how I said start small, right? That's important, but at the same time, don't make sure there's no ceiling. Like, instead of going to a gym that was kind of cheap and had average people working there, I decided to go to like a really top one that was like people who compete are going there. So
wow.
So I went there, and I was like, first day I nearly quit. And then I was like, actually, over time, I'm glad that these are the people around me, because they inspire me. I don't think I want to compete. I can't see that far. I don't think I would ever do that. But there's something about being around people who, when I talk to them, they go, oh, I've been doing this for years. Yeah, I compete. And it makes me go, it's that idea of having mentors all around you. It's like you put yourself in environments that are going to at first intimidate, but then build you up. even if it's just in the NF, you're like, oh yeah, I go here. Yeah. It's like really helped me to like to continue to go and to feel good about stuff. And I think I was ready at that point. I think if I'd done that a lot earlier in my journey, I would have felt really bad. But having built up the NF, like as you said, the NF has changed. The confidence and faith in myself has changed to the point where I don't care if I'm in a gym with people who are like insanely amazing and competing. I deserve to be there. And it's that feeling of I deserve to be here. I'm good enough. And yeah, you need to feel that level of faith in yourself. Faith in yourself is so important.
Yeah, that's
I don't care what social type you are. Have faith in yourself.
right, regardless. Yeah, I mean, we all need that just from a human perspective. But that's great, great wisdom that you are sharing there, and great advice as well. Like, I love the idea of going to the best gym. Like, again, the thought of you and people who are like you that look for mentors, like, this is really something I'm taking away from today's conversation. It's like something I need to learn from, like finding mentors, not just because it's easy sometimes when you are OI, like you are your own mentor in a sense, you know. I don't know if it makes any sense from the outside, but yeah, you just kind of seek the answers because they are there within you, and I guess that's what all the gurus are preaching and teaching, you know. But it's pretty good if the gurus start looking for mentors as well, you know. So yeah, I love that part of like how you do things, not settling down for something average, but just going to the top for the best. And I guess you can also see that because you have the SE, you can compare and contrast, and you see what is better than something else. And,
yeah.
Right. So thank you, Nora, for your advice, for sharing your journey, for sharing your wisdom, for just joining me on the beta talks. And
thank you for having me so much.
Thank you. And I'd love to have you back. And to other people who are out there who have been here before on beta talks or even gamma talks, please, if you want to come back and share your journey, feel free to just contact me and we'll have a nice conversation, because this is about growing, like both the interviewer and the interviewee, like we are both taking something away from this, and hopefully also sharing it with a few other people who are on the same journey. So yeah, good luck with the rest of it, and I look forward to hearing about the connection and how that's been going, the TE and so forth, next time we talk.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.